Hi, welcome back to the Healthy Aging Network. Today we're going to be talking about stroke and stroke awareness, so stay tuned. Hi, welcome back to the Healthy Aging Network. I'm Kathy Tutt. I'm the Family and Consumer Science Educator for Ohio State University Extension in Clark County. Today we're going to be talking about strokes and stroke awareness, and I'm joined by my colleagues today from Franklin County. Today we have Loretta Sweeney and Jenny Lobb. So I'm going to give them each just an opportunity to introduce themselves and share a little bit about what they do in Franklin County. If you don't care, Loretta, I will start with you.
I'm Loretta Sweeney. I do the senior series program in Franklin County. So I go and I do educational programs for seniors throughout Franklin County on educational topics, health related, things of that sort to help them live healthy and happy, independent lives.
I'm Jenny Lobb. I am the Family and Consumer Sciences Educator in Franklin County. I specialize in health and wellness, and I teach a lot of food and nutrition related classes, but also provide education around health and wellness more holistically. And I have the pleasure of supervising Loretta and overseeing the Senior Series program.
And some of you might recognize Jenny. Jenny's been my guest before. Last year, about this time, we talked about nutritional considerations for aging and for older adults. So welcome back, Jenny, and we're glad to have you. And welcome, Loretta, to our little crew here. So let's start at the very, we know that May is National Stroke Awareness Month. And so can you just give us an overview of what a stroke actually is?
A stroke is a brain attack. So it's a medical emergency, and it's when the blood supply to the brain is interrupted. Stroke is a form of cardiovascular disease. It's also the fifth cause of death and a leading cause of disability within the United States. A stroke is when a blood vessel carrying oxygen and nutrients to the brain either bursts, ruptures, or is blocked by a clot. As a result, the brain's not getting the blood and oxygen it needs, causing part of the brain to die.
So, that's pretty astonishing. When we think about it, it's the number one reason for disability. And you said the fifth cause for death in the United States. So now we know what it is. And I do think that I've read somewhere that strokes, there's about 80% of all strokes are actually preventable. And so I would like to know from Jenny, if you could share with us a little bit on some tips on how we could reduce our risk for having a stroke.
There are some risk factors for stroke that we cannot change, and I will share those in a minute. But the good news is that there are a lot of things we can do to prevent stroke. The American Heart Association has a list of 7 things. They call them Life's Simple 7. That are preventable risk factors for stroke. And the first one is to get active and stay active. We know that physical activity helps with our health in many ways. It's recommended that we get at least 150 minutes of moderate aerobic exercise or 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic exercise each week. And even short segments of exercise can make a difference. So you don't necessarily have to do that all at once. If you are getting even, 5 or 10 minute segments of exercise throughout your day, and it adds up to 150 minutes of exercise a week, then you are on the right track to reduce your risk for stroke and also promote heart health and your overall health in many other ways as well. The second on the list is eating a healthy diet. So eating a colorful diet that's full of a variety of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, low-fat dairy products, and lean protein is what we want to eat on what we want to have on our plate. And limiting things like our saturated fats, sodium, and added sugars can really help, again, not only prevent stroke, but help with our overall health and prevent heart disease, preventing disease and promoting health in many ways. And as Kathy mentioned, I did a whole telecast just on healthy eating for healthy aging last May. So if you're interested in that nutrition piece, you can go back and review that. The third thing on the list is maintaining a healthy weight. So losing weight if you're overweight, or maintaining a healthy weight as we age. You know, our metabolism unfortunately slows as we age, and it's more and more important to try to maintain that healthy weight to prevent stroke and other types of chronic disease. And we know that even a modest amount of weight loss, as little as 5 to 10 pounds, can make a significant difference in regard to disease prevention and management. You think about managing your blood pressure, for example, which is on this list as a standalone risk factor. But if you lose even 5 to 10 pounds, there is less volume that your blood has to be pumped to circulate your body. So that makes a difference overall. Losing weight can help in many ways. And then the fourth on the list is controlling cholesterol. Cholesterol can build up in the blood and cause blood clots leading to a stroke. As already mentioned, the first two things on this list, staying active and eating a healthy diet, can help you with your cholesterol control. So these are all kind of interrelated. Same with blood pressure. So blood pressure is an independent risk factor for stroke. It's actually the leading cause of stroke. High blood pressure or hypertension is the leading cause of stroke and the most significant controllable factor. So again, staying active, eating healthy, and then doing things like getting enough sleep, finding ways to manage your stress can help with your blood pressure control. Blood sugar control is also on the list. We know that diabetes is an independent risk factor for stroke, and that's one that we cannot change. But if you do have diabetes, or if you've been told that you're at risk for diabetes, working to manage your blood sugar can help reduce your risk for stroke. And then the final one on the list is to stop smoking. If you are a smoker, stopping smoking is one of the best things that you can do for your health. We know that smoking damages our circulatory system, but your lungs will begin to heal as soon as you stop. So if you are a smoker, working to stop smoking is one of the best things you can do for your health. So you can read more about these Life Simple 7 if you go to American Heart Association website. But these are the things that we know we can do to help prevent stroke and reduce risks.
You know, I think something that you said is very poignant in that even if it feels like those minutes that you said, the amount of exercise that people need to get can really seem overwhelming. Like I will never be able to achieve that. But if you just start somewhere on this track to bettering your health and lowering your risk is something, you know, even if you lose 5 pounds, that's something that can help for every little bit. You know, I know that some people look at those minutes of exercise and don't even think about they could do it in those increments. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, they're all interrelated. That's the other thing to remember. So if it seems overwhelming to look at all 7 things, a list of 7, then just focus on one. Just pick one and set a goal for yourself. And that's a great place to start. As we mentioned, there were 80% of strokes are preventable. There's a lot that we can do to prevent stroke. But I think it is worth mentioning first that there are a few risk factors for stroke that we cannot change. And that's why it's so important to take charge of the things that we can change. But just so our viewers are aware, the risk factors for stroke that we cannot change are our age. Our risk for stroke increases as we age. Race. African Americans have a higher risk of stroke. Our gender, women have a higher risk of stroke than men, and that's partly because women tend to live longer than men, but also there are some unique factors to women, such as pregnancy, oral contraceptives, and postmenopausal hormone therapy that could increase risk for stroke. And then the final one is family history. So to your question, Kathy, I think one of the most important things that we can do, even though we cannot change this risk factor, is to ask those questions as you're able. Find out whether there is a history of stroke or of heart disease in your family. And if you have had a stroke previously, know that your risk for future stroke does increase substantially. And Loretta is going to talk about that in just a minute. Before she does, I do want to share an additional resource for our viewers. This is a scorecard that comes from the National Stroke Association. If you want to take a little quiz to figure out where you stand in regard to your personal risk, you can go through the risk factors that are in the blue column in this particular scorecard on the left side, and rate yourself or score yourself with each risk factor. For example, you could look at physical activity and select how physically active you are. You could look at your smoking status. Are you a smoker or a non-smoker? You can look at your blood pressure and your diabetes, or your blood sugar, and your cholesterol, and whether those, what we call biometrics, are in the normal range, or if they're borderline high, or if they're high. And taken together, these different risk factors will help you figure out what your personal risk for a stroke might be.
And so I love that risk card, that scorecard. I think that's a great way to visualize those and see where most of your points actually show up in which column. So what do we do if we suspect that we may have had a stroke or a loved one has had a stroke?
So it's important to actually know the signs of a stroke and to act fast when you recognize them. If you go out and you ask a majority of Americans, they say, yeah, I know the warning signs of a stroke. And then you ask them, but they can't name them. They can only name maybe one. So a good way to think of it is FAST. It's an acronym for the warning signs. And so the first one is, the F stands for face, and it's face drooping. So you ask the person to smile. How does their smile look? Is one side of the face drooping, or maybe both sides? The second is arm weakness. So you ask the person to raise both arms out to the side at shoulder level. Does one arm slowly drift downward? The third is S, which is speech difficulty. Ask the person to repeat a simple phrase like, the sky is blue. How does their speech sound? Does it sound slurred? Are they unable to speak? Are they confusing words? And then the last is T. And that is, if you observe any of those warning signs, it's time to call 911. Tell them that you suspect the person is having a stroke, and then how long have they had those symptoms. So it's important to recognize the signs. Many times people don't recognize the signs in themselves until someone says something to them. And it is important that you call 911, even if the signs go away. Call 911. It's a medical emergency. The sooner you get treatment, the better off you're going to be. The American Heart Association and the American Stroke Association, their websites are intertwined. They have amazing resources for stroke, for things that you can do, like if you're worried about your high blood pressure and your stroke risk, exercises that you can do. It's just full of information. They have their new Don't Die of Doubt from the American Heart Association campaign that's out. And this one is, even if you're not sure, maybe I don't know if I'm having a stroke, if I'm having a heart attack, maybe it's nothing, I'll be fine, just take a nap. But we don't want to do that, because you can actually die from that doubt. That's why it's important to know the warning signs. It's important to make sure that we're talking with others. If suddenly you put things together and you're like, you know what, maybe I actually did have a stroke, it's still important to tell your doctor at any point if you think that maybe you've had a stroke, to let them evaluate. Your risk increases if you've had a stroke, or if you've had a TIA, which is a transient ischemic attack, or a mini stroke. That's where you have those warning signs, but then they go away. Maybe a few minutes later, a couple of hours later, they just stop and you're fine. It's still a medical emergency. It increases that risk for a stroke, and it's kind of a warning sign that a bigger stroke may be coming. So a lot of people think, well, because of the coronavirus, I don't want to go to the hospital. But the hospital is the safest place to be. They can get you the treatment that you need. Or they think, I'll just drive myself. But those minutes count. And so you want to call 911, get the care in the ambulance on the way to the hospital for that, to get you ready. When you get there, they know where to take you. Calling 911 is the biggest thing that you can do. It's better to have someone be upset because they didn't want you to call 911, but it's better to save their life than to let them die.
So I did have a question related to a little bit more of an explanation of a TIA. Are you able to share any more information about that, what it might look like, or some of the things that may cause you to suspect that you might have had that?
So a TIA would be usually it's a blood clot, but it's one that maybe it dissolves and it goes away on its own. So a person may suddenly lose their balance, or they're very weak on one side. They can't hold on to something, or they have that face drooping, or their speech is slurred. And then it only lasts a couple of minutes and then they're fine and you see no signs of it. So that's why it's a mini stroke, because the signs of the stroke go away when that blockage works its way through.
Great, thank you so much. So it's a precursor then.
It is.
Strokes. Yeah, I appreciate that. So I'm hearing a lot of different things from you guys, which is, watch out for your overall health, those things that we talk about quite often with exercise and eating healthy, making sure that you're communicating with a few different people. So one of those is communicating with your doctor to make sure you're getting the tests done for your biometric screenings, including your cholesterol, your blood pressure, and your A1C, or your risk for diabetes. It sounds like those are really important. Also talking with family members about any history in the family as far as stroke or high blood pressure, or anything that may lead you to possibly be at risk for these. And then also talking with each other about some things that you may see with each other, or communicating about, hey, I noticed this, or I'm scared something is going on. I need someone to check on me. I need to call 911, whatever it might be. And so those are some really important takeaways from that. Is there anything else you guys can think of that you really want to touch base on that I missed in summing that up?
I think that was a really good summary, Kathy. I think one thing I'll just add is that with that Don't Die of Doubt campaign, it came about during the pandemic. As Loretta shared, it was an initiative of the American Heart Association to try to communicate that the hospital, the emergency room was the safest place to be if you were having a stroke or a heart attack, even in the midst of the pandemic. Because, last spring, we were seeing people people were afraid to go to the emergency room, essentially. The rates of admission were declining, but we knew that stroke and heart attack rates were probably not on the decline. People just weren't seeking out treatment because they were afraid to go to the hospital or to go out in public. And so that campaign was kind of developed to address that fear and communicate that the hospital was indeed the safest place. There were protocols in place, cleaning in place, so on and so forth, to protect people from the coronavirus. And even though, we're in a completely different place now than we were last spring, with, many of us having received the vaccination, the spread of the virus declining, kind of the meat of that campaign is still holds true, that the emergency room is the safest place to be if you suspect you're having a stroke or a heart attack. So you may not be afraid to call 911 because you're afraid to go out in public at this point in time. But that website from the American Heart Association, that Don't Die of Doubt campaign, addresses many other what I would call excuses. So the one we shared was, you know, oh, it may be nothing, I'll just wait it out. And the response being, well, you could die of doubt if you decide to wait it out. But there are some other comments like, you know, I don't want to bother the medical professionals. They have more important things to do. Well, the reality is they are trained and ready to respond in situations such as this. And as Loretta said, it's better to call and then be criticized for, you know, creating stress or upheaval when it wasn't needed than to wait it out and have someone potentially die because you did not take action.
Great. And we will share the web address for that campaign so that people can access that. We'll just have it going across the bottom of the screen as we do the presentation here so that people can get it pretty easily if they're not familiar with Googling things or anything like that. So I appreciate that. So we do have a few more minutes left, Jenny, actually 5 minutes left. And so I wanted to know if you wanted to add anything else to this topic, or if you want to talk about the other project that you and I have been working on.
I do see a question came up whether stroke is the same as heart attack, and they are not the same, but they are related. So as Loretta explained at the beginning, a stroke is a brain attack. It's when there's a blockage in the brain, whereas a heart attack is an attack to the heart. There's blockage in that system. So the simple answer is no, they're not the same, but they are related. And then if people are seeking more information or resources, as Kathy mentioned, we have worked together on some online learning and a curriculum we call Aging Smart. We have some online educational modules that you can enroll in and then progress through on your own time on a variety of topics. One of them is the healthy eating for healthy aging, but there's some other health and wellness related topics that could be of interest as well. One on falls prevention, one on universal design, and so we can absolutely share the link to those if viewers are interested in some additional education.
And as Jenny mentioned, we do have our Food for Life, Long Life, through the Aging Smart online modules. And I am showing you a little bit of the flyer that went out for individuals on how to register for this. And we will go ahead and put links into the presentation here so that you all can access that. And it just is all about how to get started, the modules that are available, and then also a discount code for you to be able to access that online. And so we will make sure that this is shared so that you guys all can view it and have the opportunity to access those modules if you are interested. I do want to take a few minutes as we wrap up, to let Loretta share with us a little bit. As she mentioned, she works in Franklin County solely with the senior series. And so she offers quite a few of very interesting different programs related to older adults. And so if you don't care, Loretta, if you can share with us some things that you have upcoming, we would love to be able to share that with our audience.
Currently, I'm working on a new grant through Generation RX. So I'll be teaching a lot of Generation RX this summer, just medication safety, how to prevent misuse, what misuse is, and medication disposal. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I've done a lot of programs recently with bingo size. So I'm doing a lot of bingo and a lot of exercise. So I'm hoping I'm going to get myself in shape and some seniors and get them active and just moving as they can throughout the summer.
Thank you. And if someone wants to reach you, how do they do that?
They
Or
can
in registering.
they can go to the franklin.osu.edu and go to FCS and look up the senior series. I am sweeney.400@osu.edu, or they can call our office to get a hold of me.
Great. Thank you so much. Jenny and Loretta, I really appreciate you coming on and talking with us today. And if you are interested in learning more about any of the topics that we cover, please reach out to one of us at the Extension offices, Jenny, Loretta, or myself, and we would love to share with you more. Thank you all so much.